When we're in emotion mind, we can often react to situations impulsively and maybe say or do things that it wasn't our intent to do and that aren't very helpful. One of the skills that can help with this is stop. Stop stands for stop, take a step back, observe, and proceed mindfully. Maris, I'd love to hear some examples of how you might have used this during your recovery.
Sure. It's probably no surprise at this point that sometimes eating disorder voices can cause you to live or act outside your values. And I know one way that showed up for me was oftentimes at a difficult meal or another difficult moment, I would say hurtful things to my parents. And that's definitely a moment where I could have really benefited from using this skill and taking a moment to think about how I wanted to respond to them. And maybe I could have productively shared with them how I was feeling or talked to how overwhelmed I felt in a way that brought us closer together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's simple, but not easy.
Definitely. And I'd love to hear an example from the caregiver perspective.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the really important things was learning to proceed mindfully. As caregivers, there's a long journey through this. And sometimes, even when your kids are doing better, it's hard for you to trust that that's real. And I can think of a situation where my daughter, who was well into recovery at this time, asked me, "Do you want to know how much I weigh?" Now, given that we didn't have a scale and that wasn't something that we did at home, I was honestly a little bit panicked. But I stopped. And instead of acting out of emotion mind, I said, weighing yourself, that's an interesting choice. What made you make that choice? And she told me, and we had a great discussion, and there was nothing to fear. And I think if I wouldn't have had the stop skill, it would have ended very differently.
Definitely.
So that stop skill, stop, take a step back, observe, and proceed mindfully is a great one to have in your DBT toolkit.